if you're interested in hearing that, whatever he just came out with.
You're probably not, but it fills the air.
That might have been the most unnecessary thing said in radio history.
Yeah, it was only 2 minutes long.
That might have been the most unnecessary thing said in radio history, and I've listened to Opie.
I know. Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. You know,
Opie.
His podcast is painful.
His podcast is one of the most brilliant podcasts I've ever seen.
Opie Radio?
Opie Radio.
Okay.
He sets up a camera.
It's a live stream.
He's he's like in a hotel room.
Yeah.
He rents out a hotel room to
He
record
does?
his podcast.
Why isn't he doing it in his own place?
Because he's a freak.
Okay.
We should do it here.
We should do it here. We should have him on. Would you want him on?
I would love to.
Why do you want Gene DiNapoli?
Wait, hold on. Before we get
Yeah.
to whatever, I don't even know who that guy is.
DiNapoli?
That's the guy you're trying to book?
Go on.
Yeah, no,
But
we'll get
we'll
to
get to
it.
that in a second. Do you think you can get Opie on the show?
We know Bichetti. Who knows him? We can probably.
We're not going to go.
Nah,
we're not going
to
through
do
Mike.
Mike.
Okay.
I want you to reach out
Okay.
to Opie.
Okay.
Greg Opie Hughes.
Tell him that we are humongous fans
Okay.
tell him we're humongous fans of the Opie Radio podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
And through that podcast, we learned of his prior work with the Opie and Anthony show.
Okay.
And that we think he's just fantastic. We love his TikTok. We follow him on TikTok.
Yep.
And tell him that we love the show and we would love we have a podcast. We have a small little podcast
Yeah.
of our own, and ask him to be our guest.
Okay. You want to? Okay. I'll try to do that.
And then when he comes on, we'll sandbag the
We'll
shit.
sandbag the shit.
What's sandbag mean?
We'll sandbag him.
We'll sandbag him.
Okay.
Well,
whatever.
what questions would you ask him?
Opie?
I don't really have any on my mind. I got to prep.
He's
for
really
that.
just so irrelevant.
He's pretty
I know
boring.
he's so
The
irrelevant.
only thing you would actually talk to him about is like Opie and Anthony. But if we just treat him like a freak, it would
Right.
be
Yeah,
hilarious.
like just like gawk at him. It'll be great.
Yeah,
We should treat him like a total freak.
yeah,
He
like
kind of
like
is.
he's not I'm not a famous guy anymore.
I'm pretty humble.
You
I
want
do these guys show, and and you know they don't know me. They know me from the Opie, my actual thing, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then they lied and said they knew me from. I looked at them. I knew
that they already knew me.
They listened to us on NEW when we were the biggest radio show in the game. It's a fucking.
Do you want to know
excellent
why
impression.
Gene Napoli would be a guest?
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
First off, who is this fella? 'Cause
He's
the only
an-
thing I know about him is that Greg talked to him like 4 years ago.
Right.
He does a lot of podcast bookings,
Okay.
and every podcast he's booked on, he potentially brings a huge amount of listens with him.
Oh, so we can't even fuck with this guy.
I have his cell phone number.
Well,
I know. No, I
tried-
said I can't fuck with him.
Okay.
we could kind of fuck with
Because
him.
you said you described him as a stupid old Italian man.
He was. When I spoke to him a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
I tried booking a show at his place, and he was just like, yeah, like,
Is he the DiNapoli guy?
yeah. I tried booking Nick DiPaolo, and he was like, he was gonna give me like $2,000 to run an open mic out of his fucking venue.
Yeah, he was pretty
And
stupid.
I was like, dude, like, we're gonna do an actual comedy show. He's
From
like,
Yonkers,
nonetheless, I'll give you $3,000. You bring in the comics, I bring in the people. We have a big night. And then he just starts explaining to me how his brother was trying to like rob him from the trying to
Yeah, I
steal
know. He
from
told me
him
the same story. Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, my fucking scumbag of a brother just left me off with this mess of a fucking place, but with your fucking smarts and my expertise, we could make a big fucking night. We could make a big goddamn night. And I'm like, yeah, this sounds good, dude. Like, I'm gonna bring in some headliners. He's like, name me some headliners. Name some headliners. I want to hear them. And I'm just like, yeah, I'll bring in Nick DiPaolo, Kevin Brennan, Artie Lang. And he goes, whoa, fuck that. What'd you say? I'm like, Kevin Brennan, Nick DiPaolo, Artie Lang. He's like, Artie Lang? He played the place 2 years ago. Didn't even fucking show up. He's a fat fucking scumbag. And if I ever see him, I'll punch him in the fucking face. And here's the thing about you. I don't like you no more. Because you associate yourself with fat fucking heroin addicts like Artie fucking Lang. And you're a fat fucking scumbag yourself.
Was that actually said?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, no, I don't know Artie Lang, dude. And he's like, anyone who associates with Artie Lang, I want nothing to do with. Okay, Greg, all right? He's called me Greg out of nowhere. And I'm like, dude, I don't know Artie Lang. And if you don't want him, we're not booking him. He's like, absolutely not. If he comes here, I'm punching you and Artie Lang in the fucking face. And I'm like, dude, all right, like, I get it. No Artie Lang. He's like, that being said, my expertise and your fucking your knowledge of the comedy scene, we're gonna up a big fucking night. And he's like, well, I'm an entertainer too.
He's an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah, he's like, I'm an entertainer, and I'm like, oh really? I'm like, what do you do? He's like, glad you asked. I'm an Elvis impersonator. And I'm
He
like,
does it really well, though.
well, here's the thing. I'm on the phone with him. I'm like, oh, that's great, man. Like, and then I'm like, so we're gonna, no Artie Lang, haha. He's like, no Artie Lang, baby. And I'm like, what? He's like, no Artie Lang, okay. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm thinking maybe $2,000. We're gonna, for the headline. He's like, $2,000 sounds pretty good. He's like the colonel will feed us the money. He starts doing an Elvis impression.
I know, you told me that. Yeah.
On the phone with me. And I'm like, okay, this is the craziest person I've ever spoken to.
He's always fine with me.
And then at the end of the phone call, he just goes like, all right, we're gonna do big things together, baby.
With your knowledge, baby.
Yeah. And then I never heard from him ever again. He texted me on New Year's Eve. I might still have the text. I would have to check.
Was this recent?
No, this is 2-3 years ago. He texted me on New Year's Eve. He goes, how about that open mic that we're planning? He still called it an open mic. And I was just like, I never got back to him. Because DiNapoli wanted to charge me and Gene
$2,000.
No, more, like $10,000.
Oh, really? You told me. Someone told me a screenshot. It said like 2,000.
No, it was 10,000.
Okay.
Yeah, DiNapoli wanted to charge us, and obviously I couldn't book Artie Lang, and I couldn't book Mike Bichetti because he's associated with Artie Lang.
I know.
And
Also, DiNapoli didn't want us to host the show.
he didn't want me and you hosting.
He's like, he just uses his opener.
Yeah, he used, I think, Joe List.
No, it was like a girl.
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe
no.
like
He
a
no,
girl.
Rob's right on that.
Well,
one.
I know the only DiNapoli was going to charge us $10,000 and only pay his opener $200 of that $10,000.
Cheap ass.
That's cheap.
That's
cheap
really.
fucking man.
That's like that makes him look bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, what is this? Is capitalism.